Sorry, I was trying to serve beabadoobee. Hey YouTube, Valley Girl 5678 here, and it's time for another album review. Today we are going to be talking about this new beabadoobee album, This Is How the Mara Moves. This is the third full-length LP from London-based Gen Z indie rock singer-songwriter beabadoobee. This album follows 2022's Beatopia, which was widely critically acclaimed, and was actually one of the first albums I reviewed on this channel, and you can click here to check that out. Spoiler alert for that video, I loved Beatopia, and I still do. It really showed Bee growing up a bit out of the teenage angst that was very prevalent on her 2020 album, her debut full-length LP, They Get Flowers. This album shows Bee now growing up past the childhood nostalgia of Beatopia, which I think is a very relatable and common experience for people when you're around 20, 21, 22, which was Bee's age around the time she was writing this album and when the album came out. This album now, she's 23, 24 when she was writing the album / when the album came out. It's also very relatable and representative of that time in a young woman's life, as this album shows her truly coming into young adulthood through a variety of new types of themes for Bee, and sonically overall this album lands on a generally more acoustic or natural vibe, which is definitely cohesive with where she has landed thematically with this album. As far as new themes go on this project, most of the songs on here relate to others thematically, and further, they continue or develop stories or ideas from the other songs they relate to. For example, the first track, Take a Bite, the first single for this album, which gives existential girl rock that is very present overall on this album. It centers on admiring someone who lives a little differently than Bee, and Bee wanting a taste of that life even though she knows it's not really her. But the song is also just generally self-referential, as the first line references the song Talk off of her last album, and I will note there's actually another Talk reference later on a different track on this album that I'll get to. And generally the song is about her engaging in behaviors and situations that maybe she wanted to give in to the temptation to take a bite of that. But this also points to the idea of Adam and Eve. Obviously, Eve took the bite of the apple, creating original sin. And you could argue that Bee is kind of saying with this reference that she is aware that giving into this temptation to indulge in this kind of behavior, sinful behavior, can often lead to negative consequences. And the bridge lyrically and sonically honestly represents this. And overall, this song is a great setup for this album. Track 6, Girl Song, and track 9, A Cruel Affair, also touches on these ideas of it's so confusing sometimes to be a girl, 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 just in different ways. In Girl Song, the refrain is lyrically super powerful, as it really points to the fact that the feelings of inadequacy and feeling a mess are practically a constant for girls and young women in our society, even though at the same time each day feels especially difficult because you can always find something new to be insecure about. Whoa. I didn't know it did that on QuickTime too. Okay. And the second verse furthers this idea of feeling two contradictory things at once by basically explaining how body dysmorphia feels, which I will add is very impressive because it's hard to explain. The piano instrumentation feels very appropriate for the song, as frankly it's one of her most vulnerable songs yet. A Cruel Affair is more about the experience of being a girl alongside other girls and realizing you all do the same thing of nitpicking yourselves. It's giving #girlhood. We have a couple songs on here that deal with Bee's mixed feelings about her career and how it makes normalcy in her general, personal, and romantic life difficult. For example, track 2, California, which is sonically a very early 2000s alt-rock track, thematically covers her newfound dislikes of being a musician that is often on the road. It's honestly one of my favorite tracks sonically on the album. I love the melodies and her vocal performance. Track 7, Coming Home, the second single for this album rollout, is a nice, soft, and sweet track that is sort of the other side of California, where she is finally home with her partner, helping them out to make up for the lost time. She's apologizing if she's coming home too late. The sweeping instrumental moment in between the bridge and the last chorus is really nice. It feels generally lovey and happy, but it has a tinge of struggle to it, which is very much the thematic vibe of the song, so I really fuck with that cohesion. I also fuck with the fact there's a fly in here. I also fuck with the fact that the last chorus has some slight lyrical changes that represent that Bee is in it for the long run and is actively putting in the work to be a good partner, regardless of the fact that her career makes that hard. And overall, this song is a nice break in between all the existential rock tracks on this album. Track 8, Ever Seen, the third single, highlights how the person she is missing when she is on the road is someone she has found a genuinely healthy relationship with. This song, when you consider it with the rest of her discography, really represents how the right love can ground you and help you grow, and it doesn't have to make you crazy for it to be real. And in fact, the opposite is often the truth. Track 12, Everything I Want, is a really sweet love song about this current love. The chorus is a beautiful and well-written metaphor of how the right love, the right person truly comes when you're not looking, and when it comes, it'll feel like nothing you've ever felt before. And I love her vocal performance on this track. Speaking of the opposite of the right love, we have multiple songs on here that seem to thematically center on her last relationship and that breakup that I believe happened right after Beatopia came out in 2022. The person whom to be had written a lot of her previous songs about, I believe she was with this guy for like 7 years or something, so like the majority of her discography, at least the songs about relationships and love, etc., are about this guy. Track 3, One Time, is a very interestingly written song about this. That seems to be reflecting on the past relationship and how it was bad for her, even though she barely even thinks about it now, which goes with the general being growing up theme of this album. I really like the lyrical changes in each different chorus on this track to kind of develop the story, and the outro is really nice in its chaotic build as it ends the song on a high point of intense energy, which seems like was the overall vibes of that relationship. The following track, track 4, Real Man, is a boppy, sassy acoustic guitar cut that seems to be about the same or similar person or relationship. The fading out outro with the lyrical repetition kind of represents to me this idea of B constantly giving this boy a chance to be better and waiting for it, but it never comes, so she's forced to continue to ask for it into the literal sonic abyss, right, with the relationship in a more literal sense. And then the closing track, This Is How It Went, is about finding closure in the sticky situation that was apparently Soren trying to sue her for writing about their relationship, especially because there's a direct lyrical reference to the song Talk. Again, I told you it was coming, and the reference kind of develops the lyric from Talk, saying that, yeah, they go together like gum on their shoes, but it's time to cut it loose. She definitely calls him out on this song. I mean, at the end of the track, she's basically begging for him to leave her alone through a lyrical metaphor of wanting to go to sleep. This guy is, of course, not the only man that has hurt her. Shocking, as there are a couple songs on here that deal with her estranged relationship with her father. Track 5, Tie My Shoes, is a daddy issues track 5. The chorus lyrically is so beautifully descriptive of the situation of their relationship that she feels like fixing her daddy issues, for lack of a better term, is a big key to fixing her general problems, but she feels like she can't do it without him making a change, and he is still absent. It's just so well written, and the instrumentation goes off and is just as descriptive emotionally as the lyrics. The second to last track, The Man Who Left Too Soon, discusses how her current partner's experience of losing their father, whom they were close to, makes her think about the chance that she's never gotten the chance to know her father, and how, while different, they now have kind of a similar feeling towards their fathers, as they are both absent in their lives, just in slightly different ways. And because of this, the last line of the track can be in reference to both her partner's late father and her own. Track 10, Post, is a bit more overarching in theme. As well, it does thematically cover some of her experiences in past relationships. It also covers some of her friends' experiences in past relationships, hence the he said, she said of it all. And the song overall tells a story of general disappointment. And then the next track, track 11, Beaches, the fourth and final single for this album rollout, one of my favorites on the album, is quite existential and thematically overarching as well, as this song is about life and having to live with yourself through a slight beach metaphor, which is really nice and kind of connects back to the beginning of the album, connecting to track 2, California, and it kind of puts that song in a lighter light, which is nice. So overall, I really enjoyed this album. I do think I liked Beatopia a bit more sonically, but frankly I think her lyricism is much stronger on this album, and she wrote every song on this album completely by herself, which is really impressive. And I do love the sonic landscape of this album. It's very fitting with the album thematically. Ultimately, this album shows B continuing to grow up and truly become a beautiful young woman who is always just doing her best, as we all are. I also think her vocals have greatly improved on this album, and I think her choice to work with Rick Rubin was a great one, obviously, and I think he brought a lot of fresh, productive ideas to her sound. So I'm gonna give this album an A+. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify, all linked below. Make sure you're keeping up with my Song of the Week series that comes out every Saturday on YouTube Shorts. Stay happy, healthy, and safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!